Hey, welcome to Brunch with Brian. So today, what I wanted to go over today was some basics of the business of what we call a creative financing deal. Pretty much goes by the same steps. And in fact, most of these deals go by the same steps. Almost every deal that you talk to customers and interact with customers, you're going to go by the same steps. And I'm going to go through, let's get a little bit granular on these. Let's start with the overall structure of the business. I'm going to tell you that there's basically 5 steps to it. It's business, if you want to write these down, okay? So the number one step is what I call business setup. Okay, so business setup is first, then marketing, and then you get into our Deal Trinity is what I call it. Okay, so what's the Deal Trinity? Our daughter's name is Trinity, you guys know, so I like to use that word. It's the Deal Trinity is opening call, closing call, deal meeting. Okay, now that's followed up by some kind of an attorney closing or title company closing. But essentially, that's the whole business, guys. The business setup, which means getting a good name, getting your business cards, getting your bank account, your LLC, and all that. And then beyond that, getting the marketing going, you have to have some kind of system in place to generate leads. And I want you talking to I'd like you to talk to 20 sellers a week, 20 sellers of all types. Now, so if you're getting granular on the structure again, it's business setup, marketing, and then the deal trinity, which is opening call, closing call, deal meeting. And then again, that's followed up by some kind of an attorney closing or a title company close. So how many steps is that? That's pretty much the whole buying side of the business. Now, on the selling side of the business, you're getting the house ready to sell. Then you're selling it. Somebody say, bless me. So, guys, the way this is going to work, though, I really want to get focus in on the deal trinity. Okay, so write that down. Deal trinity. Opening call, closing call, deal meeting. When you get good at that part, you're really going to have success. Then you just need enough leads. But until you can convert a lead, the leads are all the leads you generate are not valuable, not as valuable until you can get a high conversion ratio. So, what's your conversion ratio? How many deals can you get out of a stack of leads? How many can you convert into an actual deal out of 10 leads or 20 leads or 30 leads? Now, I'll tell you that because we focus so much on the scripts and what to say, and we've done this so long, we have a high conversion ratio. And also, it's how you're getting your leads. Are those leads hot, motivated sellers who aren't talking to anybody but you? Or is it somebody who has their house on the MLS? It just listed it today and 100 people are calling them. So, what kind of a lead is it? That will obviously affect your conversion ratio. And then, how good are you? How good are you at that deal trinity, opening call, closing call, deal meeting? So again, so the overall, if you want to do the whole framework, 6 components. One is business setup, 2 is marketing, and then the deal trinity, opening call, closing call, deal meeting, and then those are 3, 4, and 5, and then the attorney closing is like number 6. All right, so let's get into the opening call. So what are the goals on the opening call? Okay, there's basically 3 goals. So your 3 goals of the opening call are establish credibility. So remember, if somebody else is doing these calls for you, they have to be credible. If they have a really thick accent and they don't understand the script very well and they can't answer people's questions, then how much credibility are you going to have when you're going into the closing call? Okay, so now if you're doing the opening call, I'm more confident. You're probably going to do a good job and you're going to do a good job establishing credibility. I'll tell you right now, then the second step is building rapport. So, and you can tell your caller, whoever's doing your FISBO calling or your opening calls, to build rapport or not. You can say, hey, it's not such a big deal, just get to the answers, but you can get the answers if you build rapport. So we always recommend building rapport along the way. That's really an important thing. I'll tell you that the key to establishing credibility and building rapport is your real estate bio. your real estate investor or home investor bio, we call it. And this is a 2 sentence to a 5 sentence quick explanation of who you are. And this is really important. You got to tell them they don't know anything about you except what you tell them on that call. So you got to tell them something that they can relate to, how they can identify with you. The more you can give them to identify with you, the better. But remember, your bio shouldn't be too long. And depending on if the customer's kind of impatient, my quick one, if the customer's kind of impatient and rushing and it's like an investor or somebody, I'll just say me and my wife and my son buy and sell houses all around the area. So that's your quick version. That way the guy knows I'm a family business and I work with my son and my wife, and I'm local and I've done it a while. So that's just the idea. So, and you guys can always say, I buy and sell houses all around the area. That's what you should all be saying. That should be in everybody's bio. And then where you work, and if you work at some big plant that everybody knows about, that's credible, that kind of thing, you can throw that in there. All right. So building rapport and establishing credibility are going to be a repeat theme. They're going to keep coming up, not just in the opening call, but also in the closing call and also in the deal meeting, because you got to keep doing it. You never stop building rapport and establishing credibility during the whole process. But generally, you're doing it in the beginning of the call. So on the opening call, again, step number one, goal number one, establish credibility. Goal number two is build rapport. And then what's goal number three? Gather information. So sometimes you get really good information. You get the mortgage information, the payments, and they're giving you everything, and they're giving you everything in a good mood. Okay, that's probably because you established credibility and built rapport. So if you try to do an opening call and you do not establish any credibility, you sound like you're just some secretary at a desk somewhere in some other city. You got no credibility and no rapport. It's harder to gather that information. But if you take those first two steps, that information will flow much more easily. Okay, let's get to the closing call. Second part of the Deal Trinity. So the closing call, what are the goals? I told you already, we're going to repeat those themes. Number one is establish credibility, and number two is build rapport. So just how you talk, just how you come off on the phone when you pick up the phone and they're talking to you, that's a huge thing of your credibility. If you sound like you're a nervous newbie and you never talked to anybody on the phone or explained deals before, it's going to be harder. So, establishing credibility and building rapport. And how do you do that? You say your real estate bio. How this works on the closing call is this. Basically, you have a couple of questions in the beginning because of neurolinguistic programming. I want you to get some yeses out of them early. So you're going to say, is the house still for sale? Is the house still available? Yes. Okay. If they say no, there's no point in pursuing the call anyway. So you get that yes, and then sometimes you'll say, are you Joe, or are you the person to talk to about the house? And you'll get a yes there. And then the other yes I want you to get is, do you have a couple minutes to talk right now? You don't want to be talking about them selling their house to you if they're in the middle of, we just talked to a guy who was at the store. Although we closed the deal, he didn't even tell us till the very end. Oh, I'm at the store. So sometimes it's kind of funny, but if you ask people, do you have a couple minutes to talk right now? That's important too. Now you should get 3 yeses before you ask them about probably the condition of the house or some other question that will help you build rapport. But after you've done that, so like the 3 questions in the beginning, and then maybe, well, what kind of shape is the house in? Or some other rapport building question. Sometimes there's a really clear opportunity to build rapport there, like you hear a dog barking in the background. Obviously, that pet owners love their pets. And so, oh, what kind of dog do you have? Oh, I had a dog, or I have a dog. We have 4 dogs, which we do. Okay, so after you establish, and then the way you get into your bio is you say, and this is a special line, so you should write this down. If you're not using this, you should be using it. Just so you know a little bit about us. And I often will start with, okay, great. Whatever they say, okay, great. Just so you know a little bit about us, and boom, me and my wife, my son buy and sell houses all around the area, the fast one. Or, I can say I used to run a mortgage office downtown, and my wife, Lynette, used to work for Shea Homes. It's a big local builder. They all know who Shea Homes is. And then we realized we could help people a lot more by just buying their house directly. So we left those big companies, and in 2003, we formed We Buy Houses LLC in Arizona. And so, when they hear that, that's a little bit more. See, now that's if you're like got a chatty person and they're willing to take some time, and you can read that sort of by the pace of their conversation, how fast they talk. All right, so establish credibility and build rapport on the closing call. What's the next step? Well, if you're doing a creative financing deal, you have to explain the deal. So 3 is explain the deal. Okay, so after you've established credibility and built rapport, you have to explain the deal. You have to explain that it's a monthly payment. You have to work out something where you're getting monthly payments. You're given a monthly payments. That's the easiest way to explain it. Can I give you monthly payments for a little while before I pay you off? So but I like the phrase monthly payments. If you start saying seller financing or lease purchase or rent to own or all that stuff, it's just going to freak people out. So just say, can I make you monthly payments? So that's the key. Now, explaining the deal is one part. That's 3. Number 4 is negotiating the terms. Now, no negotiating price and terms. Sometimes I say it, but price is one of the terms. So you could say negotiating price and terms or just negotiating terms. What are the terms you got to negotiate? If you are just buying it for cash, like a wholesale or a rehab or some a distressed property for cash, there's only one term, and that's purchase price. However, if you're doing a credit financing deal, come here, guys. Come on. Come here, guys. If you're doing a creative financing deal, hi. Sadie. So if you're doing a creative financing deal, then there's 4 actual deal points. So purchase price is the first one. Write these down. Purchase price, monthly payment, length of term, down payment. Okay, so purchase price obviously is important, but if you are getting terms, if you're getting 30 years and a low payment and nothing down, I'm willing to pay more than what the house is worth. Okay, did you hear me? I will pay more than what the house is worth if they're giving me a long-term, low payment and nothing down. So the number 2 term is monthly payment. So it goes from purchase price down to monthly payment. Okay, then it goes to length of term, and we're always trying to get 30 years. But if they have a mortgage on there, you're just going to say, okay, so the way it works is we'll just keep paying on this mortgage till it's paid off. Okay. All right. And so if they say yes, then basically you got a really long term, however is left on their mortgage. You're just going to pay it off. All right. So that's it. That's term. And there's a lot more complicated ways to do this in the scripts. Don't read I know you guys have the scripts, and some of you are just defaulting to that Lynette's assumptive close script. That's a really hard script to pull off unless you're Lynette. So don't go to that automatically. You should be using the seller financing closing call script. That's the 2.5 pages I want you to get good at. That's basically the script that this whole business is built around. Seller financing closing call script. If you get good at that 2.5 pages and the new FSBO script, you'll do really well. Okay, so the new FSBO script. Now, the FSBO script is an opening call script, and the landlord script is an opening call script. Marzi, come on. Marzi, come here. Come here, baby. Oh, where are you? There he is. So then closing call. So what's the next thing? After you explain the deal, which is number 3, negotiate price and terms. So again, those terms are purchase price, monthly payment, length of term, and then down payment. And obviously we want to get it for nothing down or a little down. If you can't get it for nothing down, if you have to give them a little down, remember you're getting that money from your lease purchase buyer right away, sometimes before you close, often before you close. So you don't need to worry about that or even have money for that. Okay, even if they do want like 5 or 10 grand down. All right, so negotiate price and terms, and then actually answer questions and objections is number 5. So this is closing call, goals of closing call again. Establish credibility, number 1. Number 2, build rapport. Number 3, explain the deal. Number 4, negotiate price and terms or negotiate terms. Number 5, answer questions and objections. Okay, and then the real close is set the appointment. So the last step is to set the appointment. Okay, so that's all the goals of the closing call. When you set the appointment, it's like you essentially close the deal. That's what I want you shooting for when you guys get that done. Okay, so after you guys do, then you got the appointment set for the deal meeting. Now you're going to go to the deal meeting. So let's say, what are the steps to the deal meeting? Guess what the first 2 steps are? Yes, repeat the theme, establish credibility and build rapport, especially because you're meeting them in person. You're shaking their hand, you're standing in their door, you're walking in their house. That's a whole different kind of rapport that you have to build and trust. And you have to, and there's a kind of a chemistry sort of and body language that starts to play into it. And yes, you're going to look nice and you're going to hand them a card instantly, by the way, a super professional card right when you get there. Believe it or not, that handing them a very nice professional card is a big step in establishing your credibility. That is your calling card. That's your credibility setter, is how good your card is. So have a great business card with your picture on it and where it looks really professional, kind of like a realtor card. So after you walk in and if you remember anything of building rapport on the closing call, you should use any notes you have. So always take great notes. So then you get in there, what are the other steps? You establish credibility, build rapport, then house tour. Step 3 is the house tour. Step 4 is you're going to actually sit down at the table and you're going to, if there is necessary, this is like an optional step. There may be further negotiation required. Okay, so we might have a negotiate price and terms step in the deal meeting. Maybe not. I mean, maybe if you pretty much figured everything out on the closing call, but often you won't have everything locked out. Okay, so negotiate price and terms one more time. And then the next step is complete the paperwork. That's what really seals the deal. Complete the paperwork. Okay, so again, establish credibility is number 1, build rapport is number 2, house tour is number 3, number 4, optional, is negotiate price and terms if they're not done. Okay, number 5, complete the paperwork. In a lot of cases, this is just a simple standard purchase and sale agreement and a standard authorization to release information. So that's basically the paperwork, okay? And so complete the paperwork. And then, listen, this is really important, and these are new steps. You're going to have them turn over their Zillow and Nextdoor listings. Now, if they don't know what Nextdoor is, you're going to set up the Nextdoor listing for the house, but you are going to get their Zillow listing. This is really important. It's what we call a stick campaign. Essentially, until they actually go down to the attorneys or the title company and sign that house over to you and the deed goes transferred to you, that deal's not really done. I mean, they could say, hey, I tore up the contract and I don't want to do it anymore. And there's very little chance you're going to be able to force them into doing it or even try. So basically, it's not truly done. So this is a great stick campaign. When they turn over that Zillow listing, it's like they feel like they're done with this deal. They're done with the house. It's sold and it's done. And you've got the Zillow listing now. So now you don't turn right around and relist it on Zillow when they can see it where you raise the price. Basically, you turn off the Zillow listing immediately and you have some length of time before you turn it back on and own it. Okay. I mean, you take the house off market essentially. If it's up there and if it's on market, instantly you're taking it down. Now, it's a good chance if it's an off market property, it's not up there as listed, so you don't have to worry about that. But if it's on Zillow, your very first step is you're going to get that Zillow listing turned over to you and the Nextdoor. All right. And then, you know what I always say? Sign off with enthusiasm. And you can do that on all of these: opening call, closing call, or a deal meeting. And so I should just sign off with enthusiasm right now and say, hey, it was great spending this brunch with Brian with you. I love having this time with you guys. And I will see you next time right back here tomorrow on Brunch with Brian. Same time, same place. And keep expecting success until I see you next, guys. Keep expecting success and getting great training and taking lots